Lui blesse l'honoré, Lord Fatopina, c'est qui est pour toi son charisme. Dans la charisme, J.R. Kuba, j'ai mon tingi. Comment on l'a là? C'est qui est pour toi soit la gaga pour seka. Comment on l'a là? C'est qui peut être pour toi soit bête à mon zélé. Ils sont tous autour charisme. Yamba chérie, dis-lui je t'aime. Fais-lui bisous. Jura Boligo. Maître Tony Mwaba. Paolo Tudilo. Tété Kaboua. Jean-François Ndengue. Mère Tchaki Père Picasso. Ici on me lance mon bébé. Dorothée Madia, mon ami Payou, Jack Pemba, Belade, Inoël Ngoya, Charisme, Charisme, Boutique Aloha, Nathalie Boubaka, Vincent Gomez, Ika de Young International, Procureur Djamala, Jean-Jacques Moutoualé, Alfred Boïna Suisse, Olivier Lanalouana, Bento Pangama, Chirac Makayama, Docteur Égide, Apollo Yastresh, Yamasualate, Yamashiri, dis-lui je t'aime, dis-lui qui est abongi, dis-lui qu'elle est qui va tout. Fais-le bisou, allez, tu go la toleka. Jean-Jacques Malolo, Jean-David Yambote, Jean-Jacques Bayonne, Judy Bilomba, Mouna, Guillaume Kali, il est l'homme. Simplice Jazz. Ils vont subir. Michel Moutiama, Samba Mouté Samba, Wekasson, Mamita Dina. C'est quoi tout le monde de ça?
Y'all leave me, man.
Del Papa. Au couture à Paris. Yamba chérie. Arnaud Technologie. Bébé, je t'aime. Allez, fais-lui câlin. Yamba chérie. Joseph Berthier.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you just are joining us, this is yours truly, Ashford the Giant. God, it feels great to be back home. And
Vous avez fait le bon choix, le grand Mopao.
Listen, we've got lots of the goodies in store for you tonight. Today is Monday, all right? And you are going to hear a lot from the professor, ALARIC TOKPA from Liberia. He's our special guest tonight. Make no mistake, throw no joke on this one. Number one, we have the professor ALARIC TOKPA. And just before we bring on the professor, I know some of my supporters and fans, you heard something about me that is far from the truth. I am not the typical Liberian that will hear something about me and don't react, especially when they are lying. Oh no, you hear from me. Not only that, British radio is censored. We have a fully functioning board. It's not just about Ashford Garley anymore, but with British radio. When I come on here, things that I say has to be factual. I can't just get up and say things and I can't prove it. No. British radio has taken a different trend now. We have a board that will say, my man, listen, we monitor the program loudly. You said this and said that. We will be respectful, but at the same time, professional. When you say things about us that don't represent the truth, it is our responsibility to come out and respond. And respond with fire. With that said, I'm pretty sure you had a great weekend. I want to take this time to introduce to you Mrs. Letty Brooks Roberts out of Information Highway. I will give her a minute or two to introduce herself because we've got a lot of work to do tonight. Mrs. Brooks Roberts, you live and welcome.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Garley. How are you?
Well, as always, too blessed to be stressed. I'm looking good, smelling good, and God is good.
And you got moves.
I'll wait for you.
You killing the competition.
You get, let me tell you. Listen, look, no alcohol, no eating rice. I'm walking 5 miles every day. I'm drinking a gallon of water every day. Listen, suits that I bought several years ago that couldn't fit me. The suits are beginning to fit me now. Okay. So your health matters. But go ahead and tell us about your weekend, then we can go from there.
Well, yes, Mr. Garley, you are right. Your health does matter. All of us should take interest in our health because without it, of course, we are all not going to be here soon. But in doing so, I also want to take this opportunity to give a moment of silence over this weekend. As you know, the great John Lewis, the representative, the towering figure of civil rights, died at the age of 80. So we're going to do a moment of silence before I read anything. Amen. Well, John Lewis is a representative, a son of sharecroppers, and an apostle of nonviolence who was blooded at Selma and across the Jim Crow South in the historic struggle for racial equality, and who then carried a mantle of moral authority into Congress. He died on Friday. May his soul rest in peace. And just to close, he has a famous quote that says, do not get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful, be optimistic. Our struggle is not a struggle of a day, nor a week, nor a month, or a year. It is the struggle of a lifetime. Never ever be afraid to make some noise and get in good trouble. Good trouble is necessary trouble. That's John Lewis. Thank you.
Okay, and as always, you have to do what you have to do by going into the your LinkedIn and read out a few comments, invite the folks, and we can go from there.
Again, thank you, Mr. Garley. As we proceed this evening, we want to welcome all of you to Bridge Radio Africa. We appreciate you for choosing us as your choice of information and entertainment. We do have few rules that we ask that you please be respectful of one another, be respectful of our host, and also be respectful of our guests. As we're coming to you live from 3 major platforms this evening, we are coming from Facebook Live, aka Bridge TV, bridgeradioafrica.com, and also Bridge Radio YouTube channel. So make yourselves comfortable, grab your drink of choice or your meal of choice. As Mr. Garley just hinted to you tonight, not only do we have the inspirational professor or our progressive professor, ALARIC TOKPA, he also has some G's for you about somebody talking about him. But again, he got that under control. You saw his moves. I'm going to welcome a few of our trending comments. Right now we have Miss Frances Zizit, a Mr. That's a Mr. Frances Zizit says, hi, family. Alvin Perry, hi, family. Ralph P. Williams, nice background. Alvin Perry, I'm watching. Carmen Cooper, good evening, everyone. We have also Ralph Williams saying, Ashford, you have a rich man haircut. Aston Carpe is in the building. We have Miss Letty Brooks Roberts dancing with you as you give up those moves. We have Eugene Harry. He says that now you know me, Garley. We also have Franklin Malia says, hello, bro. Salome Taco. She says, Mr. Garley, really? Loves Zoro's music? I don't know, Zoro, Zaire. Musical. That's great. The instrument sounds entertaining, man. Komasa Store says, seriously, Ashford? Morris Johnson, my brother, I want to learn. I dance. Pauline Bayan says, Che, don't hide them, oh, Mr. Garley. She loves the dance. God's gift, Peter says, enjoying Big Brother. Breaking limits by you. You more than James Brown, oh. Morris Johnson, my brother, you need to teach me that dance. Edwin Moba. Wow, this papi can dance. Elder James C. Bly Jr. is watching. Rocadia Jones is in the building watching as well. Agba Momalu is watching from Washington, D.C. I have said Washington, the state where decisions are made, but I've been corrected to say the district. They want to be a state, but they are a district. So, Alvin, Agba, you didn't correct me, but I caught myself. Thank you. Rocadia Jones says, I'm here, oh. Abi Brima Binda says, thank God I'm on time. Vamba Selefu says, I'm watching from Delaware. Abi Brima Binda again. Your hello, family. Bless Sampo Batu. Hello. Abby Bremer. Good job. Abby Bremer. Amen. Victoria B. Cheeks is here from this Garden State. Victoria says, I am watching from New Jersey. Good evening, everyone. John M. Johnson, I am watching from PA. Jefferson Kakula, he says, good evening, family, watching from Philadelphia. Willis, hello. Ralph P. Williams, following from Iowa, the United States. Abu Babito Fofana, one copy Ashford Garley, CKA. And Benjamin Jonah says, I am here representing all the bad politicians of Liberia. Elizabeth Victoria Dempster says, thanks and amen. Pasia Peters, I am watching from Atlanta, Georgia. And Christopher A. Kamara, greetings from my end, big boss. I just love the cigar part. Anthony Dixon, good evening, guys. I'm watching.
Okay, 2 more comments, please.
I am watching from Des Moines, Iowa. And last but not least, we have Terry Dunn says, watching from Virginia. Back to you, Mr. Garley.
Thank you, Mrs. Lecter Brooks Roberts. Somebody said they love the cigar, but I hate to break this news to you. And like I said, British radio is not just Ashford the Giant guy doing his thing. I have a fully functioning board. So the cigar, whether the cigar is good for my health or whether it's a good thing to do, I was advised by the board to discontinue the cigar. And because you see my big mouth, it doesn't mean that I control everything. I have people that listen to me. I have people that watch me and make decisions. They say, my man, listen. And so it is what it is. So the cigar will be gone. There will be no more cigar. And I hope you understand. I know you love to see the board do his thing, but there will be no cigar. Just so you know, going forward. Very shortly, we'll introduce to you our guest, Professor ALARIC TOKPA from Liberia. He has a lot of things to say. But just before we do that, folks, when you respect the giant, the original giant, and you hear people saying things about him that are not true, it is my responsibility to come out and express and say to you what I know and what I don't know. I am not going to dignify whoever said what about me over the last few days by calling their name. No, I will not do that. Because you know what? George Weah is paying some people in the much of $1,000 for them to try to come down on some of the people who are asking for the truth, asking good questions. And it's not going to work. There's no way you will tell or lie on me and I remain quiet. It's not going to suffice. It's not going to work. This is me. First off, this person said, my wife kicked me to the wayside. She kicked me to the curb. I'm in the basement of my own house. That's true. I'm in the basement. It would have made news when you said my wife kicked me out of the house. But this is the house that I purchased. Teeth and tongue can argue. No marriage is perfect. So yes, I am in the basement next to my studio because I don't want to cause noise upstairs on the 3rd floor. So yes, I'm in the basement. But I came in the basement because of my own choice. I decided to come to the basement because I left one in business. So yes, I am in the basement. You hear it? Long before you came a few days ago, friends that are close to me, I said to them, I said, I'm not in my position in the basement. I'm in a dollhouse. So that I knew that it would have been news when you said, oh, they kicked Ashford Garley out of the house. Point number 2, you said Ashford Garley is a pimp. which is by far away from the truth. I am a hard-working man. I got my visa to come to America in 1999. 3 weeks visa. 1 week for my visa to expire. I was still in Liberia until I was blessed to come to America. After a year and a half, I sent for my wife and my children. Other people get the opportunity to come to America. They abandon their family back home. But I wanted the playing field to be level. So I sent for my wife and the children to join us in America. A pimpish person cannot do that. Just so you know. And some of the people that are on the podcast that they fit the password and then. You know, if I leave the podcast, I go to work. Sometimes my wife gets angry with me because I work too much. I've always been the breadwinner. I am not a listen man. For you to say Ashford the Giant Garley is a pimp, amen, it's far from the truth. Don't do that. People would dare respect you when you say that about me. Long before I came to America, I've been the breadwinner. I've been the guy who provides for the family. Keep the roof over the head. So when you say the man is a pimp, he live off a woman, do your survey. How many women will tell you, say, Ashford Garley will live over them? Don't say these things because you just make yourself look bad. You said that I stole and Mojiba beat me in Liberia. Amen. My sister, why would you do that to yourself? I asked for the Giant Garley. When I just visited Liberia in 2018, that Mojiba would beat me. I would see him to Red Roof on Buchanan Street and Broad Street and shook his hand. When I shook Jiba's hand, Jiba thought it was $5, but I in reality was $50. He came and hugged me. Somebody would beat me and disgrace me. I would not get them money. I'm telling you. So don't just lie on somebody that you don't know about. Don't do that. God will not bless you when you lie on people. I work too hard to be in this position. And you also told a lot that are looking for a job at EFBC. Amen. Really? I went to Liberia in 2018. 5 different times in the same year. Somebody hired my professional expertise. Today we have Spoon TV and Spoon Television. You know how it was established? So, guy called Ashford Garley. I established Spoon TV and Spoon Radio. I hired the entire staff. I interviewed them and recruited them. From the general manager, ask questions. People that never had the opportunity to drive motorbike, today they are driving cars. You know what? They are feeding for their family members. Because Ashford Garley took upon his time to do that. When Henry Costa refused to give Eugene Fangon the opportunity, when the late Mamadi Diakite refused to give Eugene Fangon the opportunity, there was a guy called Ashford Garley. I introduced Eugene Fangon to radio in Liberia. And today he's Deputy Minister of Information. This is me right here. So when you said this man is a pimp, this man is a loser, you just don't know me. Don't say things that you can't buy. In fact, I can sue George Weah now. George Weah is, in fact, the guy that stole my name, the Giant. I am the original Giant. People are listening to you when you say I stole George Weah's name as a Giant. George Weah started calling himself the Giant in 2017. In the early 90s, it was Ashford the Giant, the original Giant Garley in Liberia. Why would you allow somebody to make you look like this? Don't do that, man. You're my big sister. You look very nice the other day in your African attire with your earring. I admire you. Oh, you look so beautiful. But you were just out of church because they didn't tell you the truth. Another thing, you dress like you looking good. We ain't got to complain with it. Why are you bothered with the way I dress? I wear coat suit to come. You say Ashford Garley is a BM. Listen, my work ethic is unmatched. I am one of the hardest working people on the face of the earth. My wife can even complain that I work too much. So I am not a pimp. I don't look for a woman to fart before I smell it. I work hard. I am a hard working man. I will stop there because my guest is here now. Next time, you must do your research before you talk about somebody you don't even know about. And before I take leave for you, you can get angry all you want. This is the medicine of the microphone. This is the golden voice of Liberia. This is Ashford, the original giant Garley. And to you, my followers, please do not attack her. Leave her alone. Don't attack her. Don't even abuse her. Don't do that. The how they can prove themselves. Don't do that. At the end of the day, they'll realize, you see how foolish man? You call me a pimp? The woman who are pimping on side, the kind of suit I wear. You see that Salvation Army suit? When I leave from here, I go to work. People who talk to me on a regular basis know I'm always working. I don't wait for a woman to fart before I smell it. I am not that kind of person. My wife, when I met her, she was in the 8th grade. 35 years. 21 years in marriage. Teeth and tongue can argue. You said that man in the basement. I'm not in the basement in somebody else's home. I'm in the basement in my own home. I pay for this home. This home is purchased. When my wife went to LIBERIA and stayed 7-8 months, what do you think was taking care of responsibility? That I mean, last year when she went for the June 7 protest, she went for 1 month. She stayed 3 months. What do you think was paying for the responsibility? That I mean, you think I useless as most of the men out there? Don't disrespect me next time. I work hard. The car I drive, I took it last year. The car had 31 miles on it. I'm bored with the car. I'm about to get another car. In America, when you work hard, you have good credit, you can drive anything you want. You don't have to depend on women. I don't depend on women. I don't depend on anybody. That's why I don't respect them politicians. Because the same way they put on the pegs, one leg at a time, I do the same. I am Ashford, the original giant Garley. Do your research before you open your mouth next time. That now you know me, I am the original giant. Thank you. Professor Larry TOKPA is in the building, folks. We got some questions for him tonight. And I see him in the preview, but they're saying the device is not connected to something. I said, Prof, I can see you in preview, but I can't see you coming up close. You know, I'm going to go to Lucky Brooks Rabbits to read out a few comments and then try to make contact with the prof. If we can't bring him via video, we're probably just going to get him through audio, you know. Mrs. Rabbits, go ahead and do just that, please.
Sure. So we have trending again, Alvin Perry. He says, please don't be distracted by the noise of the market. Do your thing, brother man. We also have Sarah Putuway. She says, Mr. and Mrs. Garley, Please don't mind the noise in the market before you buy rotten food, family. Love you all. Yes, okay. Love you all, family. And let Jesus himself be the center of your household. Nola Dennis is watching. We have Colonel Remy Edmund Gray in the building. Bless Sumpa Batu. She says, what will you gain by talking trash that's not true about someone? The giant, we will pray for her, the individual. Wilma Dwell says, Mr. Garley and Bridge family, thanks for the hard work. And as usual, I am watching from Melbourne, Australia. Glendon G is in the building. We have Bassaman J. Who are we talking about? Philip Paswa. Indeed, you are a hardworking big brother. I am a witness, senior man. Verba Salifu. Wow. Carmen Cooper. But basement? That's what? You're not homeless? They who talking about you, where are they? Christopher A. Kamara. Don't mind that big bro. Everyone got problems in their homes, especially married. Helen Flomo. Hello to my brother, ALARIC. Good to see you. Wilma Dwyer, Mr. Harley. I think he meant Garley. And Bridge family. Thanks for the hard work as usual. I'm watching. I read that already. Fidel City is watching. We have Smith Dawie. Hello, family.
Two more comments, please.
Yes, we have Olua Baby Azizi. I am William Aziz from Ghana, and I help people in my country and outside my country, like Zimbabwe, USA, South Africa, and the list goes on. Well, that's a long list.
You have to read some more comment because we just had Mr. Chuban with us, and so go ahead and
Ruth Gordon says that's pettiness. Lofa Julius is in the house. We have Saba Richards. Saba says, speak up. Pastorman J, who is this lady, my people? Manster Boyd. Her name is, we're not giving her credit here. And we'll delete that comment. We don't want to know her name. We have Rebecca K. Tayo. She says, who's she, my people? Master Boy, she is a strong CDC supporter based in Switzerland. That's about all we're going to say about her. Sufficient Almost Senior says, thank you, the giant. Elder James C. Bly Jr. Oh, yes, my first time to hear the name Giant of Ashford was right there in Congo Town around 1997. Classic Touch in Congo Town was headed by this man we call today as Ashford Garley.
Okay, one more comment, please. We have the professor in the building right now. So one more comment, please.
Ruth Gordon says their life set finished dusty under their bed. They want to read someone else's life set. Back to you, Mr. Garley.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, please share the video. We have with us Professor ALARIC TOKPA. He's one of the two sons of the progressive, and he's in the building tonight. And at this time, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you up close Professor ALARIC TOKPA. Professor TOKPA, welcome to the show.
I am delighted. Thank you.
Okay, we just gonna have to jump straight into it, but I think Mrs. Letty Brooks Roberts out of Information Highway wants to just tell the folks who Professor Larry TOKPA Eggs. Mrs. Roberts, if you can just pick up from there, and we can continue. Mrs. Roberts.
Yes, thank you. Professor ALARIC TOKPA, a prominent former student leader, Professor TOKPA, who in the 1980s, when former Samuel K. Doe ruled by military degree, had him and others thrown to prison at the famous Bella Yala, deep in the Lofa forest. Therefore called an all well-meaning Liberian in and out of government, as well as at home and abroad, to advise the government to halt the interference with the legitimate and constitutional rights of the student community. As the suppression of legal forms of struggle usually provokes illegal forms of struggle, he said. He insinuated that when student political activities are banned openly, they operate underground, adding, it is dangerous to create a condition to allow these young people to operate underground. Incidentally, the present Liberian government is not sophisticated enough to deal with underground struggles, in quotation. Serving then as General Secretary of the Liberian National Student Union, LINSU, Professor TOKPA was one of 6 student leaders in Liberia that were sentenced to the firing squad in January 1982 for protesting the ban of student political activities by the military dictatorship. He was also among 6 other national and university student leaders that were sentenced to maximum prison at Bella Yala with hard labor in 1985. Professor TOKPA, who is also former head of the political science department at the University of Liberia, said that the interference of university authorities with the legitimate and constitutional rights of students to associate, to speak freely and take action in their own interest and the interest of the larger Liberian society is the trait of dangerous dictatorship. To date, he remains one of the most consistent progressive leaders in Liberia who is highly admired and consulted by youth and student leaders. Professor ALARIC TOKPA.
And Professor TOKPA, I didn't have to call you to get your CV. Your CV is around the world. I will just give you 2 minutes to give us your opening statement. Professor ALARIC TOKPA. Ladies and gentlemen.
Greetings to Liberia, the Liberian diaspora, and thank you very much, Ashford, for inviting me to your show. I want to thank Mrs. Roberts for that beautiful summary of what I've been through and what I'm going through in this country. Usually, programs like these that I widely watch require a speaker or at least the guest to listen as much as possible to the questions and comments of the listening audience in order to be in a better position to make some clarifications, to provide some directions, or to comment on the issues that are germane for the development of our country and for the transformation of our country. So I propose that I speak less, listen more, and interact.
Thank you. The voice of Professor ALARIC TOKPA. You have been in the news lately, Prof. You care to tell us what the main issues are?
The main issues are these. Number one, the Liberian government is drastic to remain in power after having demonstrated incapacity, inability to lead. Knowing that the population is very fed up, is very angry, with the ineffectiveness of the government is taking drastic measures to enrich itself and to once more cajole the population in order to prolong its stay in power. The announcement that a war pandemic had entered Liberia worried everybody. Meanwhile, it became clear to us that it was a threat of this government which began by stealing money in our country to take advantage of that situation and enrich itself. For that very reason, the government has taken all kinds of actions that are unimaginable. The government has taken actions to increase the political statistics on the amount of human beings that are being affected by the pandemic. The government has proceeded in ways that are making it very, very difficult for most Liberians to even believe that the coronavirus is in this country. From the actions of party leaders, CDC partisans, and the ruling party, and the violation of the health regulations of this country, it is clear to most people that the government is using the situation in order to enrich itself. My situation is that I was scheduled to travel to the United States. I was informed that it was a requirement that I take the COVID-19 test. In summary, on the 6th of June, I took this test. On the 8th, I inquired about the results, and I was informed that my results got missing in the lab. I said, from the time I was growing up in Liberia, and the many countries I've lived in this world, all over Africa, Europe, the Americas, my result never got lost in any lab. So what kind of lab is this? If it is happening to me, I believe it is happening to other Liberians. And as long as it is happening to other Liberians, it becomes an issue which you cannot just look to ALARIC by itself. You have to look at the system, the history of the country, the arrangement of the politics, and the management of the state. So I redid the test on the 8th of July on Wednesday. My flight was on early Saturday morning. I had to be at the airport, therefore, on Friday evening. I persuaded the authorities. I insisted that I needed my result as a requirement to travel. I was given clearance that I am COVID-19 negative, free. So on my way to the airport, I received a text message that they were very sorry that there was a mistake in the lab. But a lab that first just lost my result and then gave me mixed results after a second test is an unreliable lab. And the reason is that the government of Liberia is not taking the fight against COVID-19 seriously. The government is lying about much of the statistics. That is why I insist that every statistics coming out of Liberia is possibly manipulated and should be treated with caution. My concern, the government ought to use this situation to improve our health system. But the government is using the system to discourage health workers. I was informed by health workers that they had not taken pay for more than 3 months, and that they were doing this as a matter of professional obligation. That one said to me that if we do not come to work, the day you decide to stay away, it may well be your brother or sister or mother or friend that will come to the clinic, to the hospital for treatment. It is possible that person could die because you are not present. That was the logic provided me. But my concern is that the government is not taking seriously the improvement of the services to the Liberian people. This government came to power because the Liberian people are hungry. They are thirsty for change. And not only that, they have insatiable appetite for change. When you see a situation like that in a country, you have to be very careful with the people. The people appear to be laid back. whenever they are provoked further, you can have devastating consequences. So it is important, as suggested earlier last year, let this government sit down with stakeholders and take advantage of the goodwill of the international community to rethink everything. The reduction of the problem in Liberia to a single man called George Weah is only less fundamental a problem. The system that keeps the health system down is our real enemy.
Professor.
The managers of the state that are presently ignoring the need to improve the health system are our true enemy. We fight systems.
Professor, COVID-19 is not just only in Liberia. It's something that is all around the world. Why would you say the government is not taking COVID-19 seriously? What have you seen? What do you know that we don't know for you to say the government of Liberia is not taking COVID-19 seriously, especially when funds have been allocated to help combat COVID-19 in Liberia? Professor?
The problem is this. Not only has the Weah administration privatized the state, it has criminalized the state. We are in the era of primitive accumulation. The government is taking advantage of any possibility to enrich the highest officials. But this is the threat of undemocratic governments that pretend they are democratic. This is a threat of authoritarian governments. They control the legislature, they control the judiciary, they intimidate the population, they threaten the population, they brutalize the opposition in the name of power. But whenever they seek power, their major objectives are to concentrate power and wealth at the center of the administration. This government started the announcement about the arrival of COVID-19 in Liberia with trickery, with lies. When Nathaniel Blammer was accused of not cooperating with government because he had COVID-19, no sooner was the announcement made that COVID-19 had entered Liberia through Nathaniel Blammer that he was dismissed from his job. They said he was suspended, but that suspension amounted to a dismissal because up to today we don't know what the relationship between his job and ailment is. He didn't manufacture that sickness, even if he had it. But every little ailment in Liberia now is projected as COVID-19 related. We didn't have malaria here before. We didn't have typhoid here before. We didn't have headache here before. We didn't have cough here before. But everybody knows the signs and symptoms of COVID-19. Everybody knows the severity. The problem here is that mockery is being made of a situation that has brought the world down to its knees. And global solidarity is a requirement for fighting a pandemic like this. But Liberia is not prepared to participate in this fight. As far as we are concerned, accusations of the mishandling of resources, state resources, money is coming from the outside, even for the improvement of health. I sources of heavy worry. The reason why I say we are fighting a system, even before George Weah came to power, I did a research for Oxfam America on American aid effectiveness. So I insisted that there was a need for me to know the quantity, the quantum of aid coming in. And yes, I was giving all the billions of dollars that was moving into different institutional arrangements. When I got to USAID informed me that the health ministry had more money, had been giving more money than it was USAID. And that was confirmed when I interviewed a deputy minister in the health ministry. I'm sorry that I will not call name. So why is it that in a system where there's need for regularizing, for improving the health system, for giving uniformity to the health system, you have more money than you can use? So what do you want to do with the balance of the money? the situation is the same today. It is a system. It is an issue. It is not possible to look at a case of ALARIC TOKPA and concentrate exclusively on the case of ALARIC TOKPA in order to address this problem. However, it is possible that through ALARIC TOKPA, awareness is being created about the flaws in the system. To solve an issue, as I said earlier, you got to look at the economy, the politics, the history, the culture. It is a structural problem.
Well, Prof, when you said Liberia is not prepared as it relates to COVID-19, some might say you are missing the point there, because look at where we are now from the first case with Blaman. You know, look at the death toll. Look at the ratio.
In the first place,
I interviewed Toba Yonswad, and he said the healthcare system is a lot more better than what it used to be. I also interviewed Dr. Kete, who is the chief medical officer of Liberia. They are not saying what you just said. Now, bring us up to speed. Describe the medical facility where people go to do the testing in Liberia.
before I do that, let me say this. I do not always believe what I hear or read. And I advise my students to do the same, not to believe just everything they hear or read. It is a dangerous thing to do so. When you go to the testing center, in the first place, much of the information they make available is not real. I was first informed that there was a testing center at TOKPA High School. I go there. No, they are JFK. I go to JFK. No, SKD Stadium. I go to SKD Stadium. In the waiting place, if you ever did your research, it's all mud, it's all water, and you can't subject sick people to that kind of abuse. The disrespect of the Liberian people in the fight against COVID-19 is unimaginable. Why is it that the government first started by buying trucks of ratings rather than paying attention to purchasing personal protective equipment for health workers and getting medication? Why is it that the government started to invade homes and brutalize people in the name of fighting COVID-19? Why is it that this government does not respect the laws of this land? So the CDC party is above the law. CDC can organize mass rallies, marches in the streets. As a matter of fact, therefore, when I declare myself finally COVID-19 free on that Saturday, I'm going to move into the streets of Monrovia with my men, and I'll go to my party headquarters to make my press conference.
Now, do you feel safe in Liberia now, given what has transpired and all ongoing between you and the government? Please let us know your concerns, if any.
The Liberian people are not safe. Comparatively, ALARIC TOKPA is safer than most people.
What and what's that?
Sorry?
Why are you safer than most people?
I'm saying the question of the security of the state.
Okay.
Which is the protection of government officials, their safety, and what have you, is being considered more important than state of security.
Okay.
The state of security has to do with attention to the basic needs of human beings: housing, health, education, agriculture, community development, water, electricity, so that when you produce or create the enabling environment for people to be able to live in a dignified way, the government is safer. Rather than doing so, the government is much more rather prepared to improve the security environment against itself. Meanwhile, it is more vulnerable because no attention is being paid to the state of security, which has to do with the basic interests of the people. A proper government is not well advised to proceed in a way in which this government is proceeding. This government is the direct opposite of the concerns that are raised by administrators when they take government to a proper operation. The problem, when people take power and assume that because they have been given state power, then they own the resources of a country and they can engage in arbitrary rule, that becomes very dangerous. We come from war. We are battle tested. I've always known that the country is unsafe in general, but ALARIC TOKPA will never be chased out of Liberia. This is what they did to my son, Henry Costa. This is what they did to my son, Martin Coley, who they are chasing around the world. This is what they did to my daughter, Justina Taylor, who they are killing slowly while she's alive. So there's no security for anybody. What about those poor people who are being attacked by armed robbers? People who emerged out of war, homeless, on drugs. They were given in war that they got addicted to. Why is it that there's so much rape in the land? What is the government doing about this? SGBV is a serious matter. Liberia is not prepared to even address the question of children who walk the streets in a day, attacking the population, vulnerable women, sleep in the street at night, from graveyard to graveyard. We need a program to address these concerns. It is an issue. We can pay attention to particular children who are related to us or particular family members. That is not enough. We need a realistic national program, and there are Liberians of goodwill all around the world, even within this country. For example, I provide training for a group called Big Sisters. They are all in the street, doing their best to take girls, children, boys out of the street. But that is a limited agenda. It is the failure of the state in Liberia, in Africa in general, that has made it possible for the international community to pay attention to NGOs, CSOs. But the money that should be coming to the state, the corrupt state, is being diverted because the state is untrustworthy. We cannot continue to go on like this. So it is impossible at this age for me to run away from scums.
Now, Prof, you can't bring a real change from on the outside. You have to be within. You said, and quote, that hats were set on fire in Bakpolo when you announced that you were going to contest the senatorial seat during the upcoming elections in December. And ever since you said that, the government got scared. And this is where your trouble began. You care to comment on that?
This is where the trouble of the government began. Because at your rise, when this government came to power, that a dangerous dictatorship had appeared in Liberia. And that there was a death sentence of democracy. So what is happening to me is not strange. Yes, it is true. All houses were set ablaze in Bakpolo County when I announced. So the government is attacking me not because it is interested in my health, not because it is interested in the health of the Liberian people. You think if this government was serious, I said I will remain in my house and in my compound, gave me 4 health workers or even some security people to come and monitor me, and I will pay them $100 after the 2 weeks that they will be here observing me. Why did the government refuse? What special interest does the government of Liberia have in my health to want to isolate me, pretend that they gave me VIP treatment? I love a VIP, man. I'm a public educator and a farmer. When I want VIP treatment, I go to my farm. You understand me? Every day they threaten. They will come and take me. You are able to come and take me. But you cannot force me against my will. If I violate the laws, I will choose which laws to obey or violate. This is a state of lawlessness. There is need for rethinking of the judiciary, of the legislature, of the executive branch of government. These three branches of government, the theory is that they are divided powers, but share functions. There are actions that the executive branch of government can take, where it has to take it in cooperation, in collaboration with the approval of the legislature. There are actions that the legislature can take, where it has to do it in cooperation with the executive branch of government. Nevertheless, the imperial presidency is characteristic of a system like this. Efforts are made for the executive branch of government to control the judiciary and subordinate the legislature. But it is better for a progressive man, a development-oriented mind, a Pan-African revolutionary to go into the legislature, because there you have independence. You can choose to compromise it, or you can choose to stand up to the system. So, to work in the executive branch of government is much more complicated. No bad day whatsoever, however progressive you are, can enter a system like this and reform it from within, and change it from within by working for the executive branch of government. You have to conform.
Well, Prof, you said Hajj was set ablaze in Babodu County. Granted, ALARIC TOKPA is an icon when it comes to the progressive. You did a lot of things that people growing up remember. Now, do you also realize that there are others who are contesting in Bapolu, that the former president pro term, Jala, I'm told he's also contesting, and originally from Lofa now Bapolu. So tell us about your chances in winning the hearts of the people, because they remember you then, you did what you had to do. But the people of today, they don't look back. They look at how can they be fed. Do you have rest to feed them? Can you do for them today? Financially, what do you stand against Ahmad Jala, who was once president pro term, that I'm told is contesting in Bapolu? What are your chances?
If you properly describe Ahmad Jala, he was an ineffective president pro tem. He is an ineffective senator. He is a liar. I carry a message. I don't require so much money to win elections in Bapolu County. They are from different political institutions. What is their agenda? What is their agenda? To lie to our people and promise them what they cannot provide? No. This is the reason why the state is afraid of ALARIC TOKPA. Because they know that I work on the minds of human beings. That I've laid down my life for our people before. And I'm prepared to continue to stand up to these scums. We fought the military government and brought it down. We fought the one-party state and brought it down. The effort now is to defeat the one-party dominant state. It is impossible at this stage to decide that other parties will not function and only a party is going to be in a political arena. The chances in electoral democracy of freedom of association, freedom of movement, freedom of assembly, the honest casting of ballots will face some challenges under this government. There will be interruption of freedom of assembly, and there will be interference with the honest counting of ballots. If we do not put this government in its proper lane, you will experience some more disaster in Liberia politically.
Now, are you afraid that we are going to see something close to the one party democracy, something that you fought very hard for during your early days from the progressive? You have given birth to multi-party democracy system in this country. Are you afraid that we are headed in that direction?
I'm not afraid because, in fact, it is impossible for this government to create a one-party dominant state. There will be attempts, but you see, that is why we heighten the contradictions. Because when contradictions are not resolved in society, that society will not develop. Before a baby crawls, it has to get sick. Before a baby walks, it has to get sick. It is a civil society. So we're not afraid of these contradictions. In fact, we sharpen the contradictions. And that is why I'm standing up to them, to highlight the plight of the Liberian people in the fight against COVID-19. I'm not afraid of them. I will not be afraid of them. I'm a humble man. But why should you provoke a man only because you see that he's humble? Even though I'm humble, I'm dangerous when it comes to fighting for the interests of my people. No compromise. No compromise. I've said over and again that this time, it is their time to run away from me. I will put them in the state of emergency. Send the insist on putting the Liberian people and the radical advocacy community in a state of emergency, so that there's no good thing here. From one time, from one day to the other, from 1 week to the other, 1 month to the other, what they do is this: they create a scene to distract the people from thinking about the real issues in Liberia. The real issues are that this government is incapable of paying attention to health. This government is a criminal government. This government will not reform because it's incorrigible. However well-meaning you are, you cannot help this government to change. You cannot help this government to change. So we have to make them understand.
How do you bring about the change, Prof, when it is an established fact that all the election commissioners, including the new NEC chairperson, they're all citizens? Do you think that the December senatorial election will be transparent and fair?
I do not think so.
And what's that?
If they insist on making it unfair through the dishonest thing in the counting of ballots, we got to make them realize that there will be consequences for their actions. Period.
Okay. Any issues or concerns with the CPP that you care to talk about?
No, not now.
Okay. What do you make of the current government of Liberia thus far in terms of governance, rule of law, the economy, etc.?
Justice is on sale. When the economy is good, the politics is good. When the economy is bad, the politics is bad.
Now, it is rumored that you stated that you go on hunger strike if you were forced to be confined at the 14 military hospital. Did you make that statement?
In order to assure them that my blood is on their desk, my life is in their hands.
Now, you are known for being a fearless advocate for justice and a revolutionary outcome, among others. Now, some have argued your statement of going on hunger strike that makes you look weak in the eyes of others. How do you respond?
I do not need others to define me or interpret me. Apologists of this government will make statements they are detractors, they are surrogates. But that is their business. That is their business.
Now, Prof, by the way, did you fear for your life during the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf's administration? Yes or no? And why?
Absolutely not. Because after we fought dangerous dictatorship, the military bureaucratic state of the Chancellor tyranny, it was clear to me that no other government was capable of intimidating me. If I was not intimidated by Samuel, if I was not intimidated by Charles Taylor, as a matter of fact, I led the formation of the only political party on the Charles Taylor. And today, I had the oldest coalition in this country. I organized the New Deal movement. Charles Taylor was furious, but there's nothing he could do about it because ALARIC TOKPA is ALARIC TOKPA. I'm a dead man on leave, man.
Now, Prof, have you considered supporting any candidate for the 2023 presidential election? If yes, who and then why?
I've considered producing a candidate for the National Democratic Coalition in that election.
And folks, if you just joining us, we have with us tonight the Professor ALARIC TOKPA, and he's our special guest. We still have a few questioning for him. Shortly, we're going to open up the telephone lines. Perhaps you have a few questions for the Prof. Prof, can you rate the performance of the CDC government with a letter grade?
I wouldn't want to be specific in so doing, but I do know that it is an ineffective government and it will be incapable of even making a C if it were in my class, or not even a D.
Now, you said and quote that they are afraid that if or when you are elected senator, they will meet their early demise. Now, you know and I know, Prof, that one person cannot turn the Senate around. Darius DeLong, who considered himself the light, is frustrated now. And the last time we heard him calling his colleagues or calling the Senate, you know, what did he say that brought him to ridicule? That the place is rotten and his colleagues are spineless. Now you are saying that when you are, or if you are elected, they are going to meet the early demise. What are you depending on?
I'm depending on theory.
Theory doesn't work.
But there is no good practice without theory.
They have tried and they have missed several attempts.
There is no good practice without theory. Wrote a book on the authoritarian state in Africa. I wrote a chapter on rethinking the Liberian state. And I have an idea of how we can rethink this state.
Again, folks, if you just joining us, he's a man with just a little responses. But again, this is ALARIC TOKPA. I've been here. And well, Prof, you said and quote, the government of Liberia has provoked you. The government of Liberia offended your God and your ancestors. And you went further to say George Weah will pay. His government officials will pay. The war and economic crimes court is a reality. Please expand on what I just said, Prof.
I choose my battles.
Go ahead.
On the 10th of July, the government of Liberia waged war on ALARIC TOKPA by interfering with my constitutional rights. The government of Liberia led a frontal attack, unprovoked attack on me. In a way, I can say, when you're in a war situation, there will be several or many battles. You may not be in a position to win all of them. So they achieved their objective. What was their objective? The agenda will stop me from traveling, from positioning myself, to challenge my opponents in Bapulu County. At the same time as they're doing that, they gave my opponents COVID-19 passes. And they are campaigning in the county. Be not deceived. Campaign has not officially been declared open, but campaign has been going on. With the COVID-19 money, which is intended for our people after the government made a pre-commitment to tell our people to stay at home and they're going to feed our people. Part of their problem, ignorance. How do you make pre-commitments all the time and you're unable? When you want to run a serious government, you promise on the basis of what you have. You don't promise on the basis of what you expect. So that's zero again. Zero. They won the battle against ALARIC TOKPA, but it was a Pyrrhic victory. They will feel the pain. They are feeling the pain in this battle. And they say the guy Shamo, why is it when I can't Moretta, they close their mouths? And they say the wicked, why didn't you invade my residence? Then we'll see fire.
But what do you then say to folks who said it's just a mere bluff because ALARIC TOKPA of the 80s is not the same ALARIC TOKPA. They're saying you are old, you are spineless, you don't have the strength you once had. How do you respond to these people? ALARIC TOKPA is not energized anymore. He's not the guy that we thought he was back then in the 80s. That you are old now. There's nothing you can do. What do you say to them?
ALARIC TOKPA has always believed in collectivity. When I speak, I don't speak for myself. That's number one. Number two, I acknowledge that which is new and growing may be more powerful than that which is old and dying in certain contexts. But listen to me, I'm a fighter. Even in the martial arts school I attended in Liberia in the United States, we depend on strategy and tactics. With all your strength, we can break you down very easily. We can attack pressure points, and we know where to hit you in order to hurt you the most. I will start rolling some pumps out. And they say, me, I'm not social media man, I'm not so fascinated. But then they say the first case, every day on social media talking nonsense, I will start rolling some points out. Let them bring their own points. Let them, for the next 2 weeks, I'll be rolling some points out, hitting them hard. Yeah.
Well, Professor TOKPA, you said the central prison that is more fear today is something that you referred to back then as New York. You went to the NSA prison. You went to the BBC post docket. You end up in Bella Yala. And you went further to say you are a graduate. But then the question becomes, you are not young anymore. There's nothing you can do. You don't have the strength that you once had. What do you say to this?
Prison for me was a school that provided lessons that money cannot buy.
I am not a fan of just these short answers. Prof. Go ahead. Expand on what you just said.
I did propose from the beginning of our conversation that I wanted to say a few words and react more to the listening audience because the audience is diverse. I want to listen to the detractors.
Right.
I want to listen to the apologists. And I want to listen to those who are defending this questioning regime.
Now, Prof, we are going to open up the telephone line. And Mrs. Letty Brooks Roberts, would you just pin the telephone number? You said the government is amassing wealth in the name of fighting the pandemic. Strong allegation, Prof. What are your facts?
So, The Supreme Court of Liberia is subordinate to the executive branch of government. They do exactly what the government tells them to do. If the team are allegations as such that it brings any embarrassment, let them take me to court. Thankfully, we, the Pan-Africanists in Liberia, celebrate the fact that cases that cannot be handled by the Supreme Court in this country can be taken to the ECOWAS court. And we'll give you a bloody nose there. So I made allegation that the thing I have no evidence for, let them take me to court. Period.
Now, thankfully you have acknowledged that this platform is diverse. Now, you said something that I want to bring back. You said many assumed that President Weah was bringing change, but he brought disgrace. A sad story that you will go into later. Please go into it now. The fact that the audience is a little diverse, they want to hear what you have to say. Prof?
When you read a book, if you cannot summarize it in one page, you have very little understanding of that book. If you read a chapter, you cannot summarize it in one paragraph, possibly you have very little understanding of that chapter. This is not always the case. Those are possibilities in the academy. Is it not true that Mr. Weah was supported by the grassroots of this country, the people of this country, only because they believe that he had the capacity to bring change? Is it not true that Mr. Weah said he was not going to disappoint the people of this country? Is it not true that he said that the quality of his decisions is what Liberians ought to have looked at? Is it not true that in the first few months of his administration of this country, he amassed wealth, which is public knowledge? Is it not true that the domestic policy of his government is stealing and that the foreign policy of the government is begging? Why would one civilization depend on another civilization for its development? Have you ever seen that anywhere in the world? This is a disappointment.
Well, Prof, you also said you have the means to make Monrovia uncomfortable. What were you referring to?
Practice is the criteria of truth.
And you gotta break this down for the rest of the folks who don't understand the way you.
For any reason, if the unprovoked attack continues on me, then you will see whether or not what I was saying was a mere bluff.
You also referred and that you pay tribute to the late gladiator of the CDC, Honorable Mona Youngblood. And when she approached you, that she wanted to be the head of the political science department at university.
Yes.
And she was one of your students.
That's correct.
You said biologically she was a woman, but functionally she was a man. And you went on to say she worked for the wrong government. You also went further to say that the Fala is also working for the wrong government. Is it a bad thing to work for your country?
Sorry?
Is it a bad thing to work for your country, even if the head of the country is not doing the right thing? Is it a bad thing if they ask you to contribute your talent and expertise? Is it a bad thing to do so? But just help her understand why you said she worked for the wrong government and he's working for the wrong government.
You know, why is it that those who brought the war to Liberia professed that they were fighting for democracy, destroy Liberia, were unable to rebuild Liberia when they were given a chance. Politics is a difficult science. I said to some of the folks in the CDC government from the beginning of time that it is easier to take power than to control power. The problem is this: when people get more interested in serving the system only as service workers and place themselves in a position where they can be easily manipulated in the interest of wealth seekers, they can easily be misunderstood. Absolutely. I don't imagine that health workers with their professionalism want to say, your result, Mr. ALARIC, TOKPA got amazing in the lab. Oh, today you are negative, but today you are positive. So am I a COVID-19 neutral man? Am I positive and negative at the same time? There's a problem with the system. Even get your test result is that people are doing you a favor. Should people not be eager to ensure that you get your results without persuading them, without insisting on your results? You don't do me no favor by so doing. You think when I'm sick, myself, I will not be eager to find treatment? Death is inevitable. That is why I don't fear death. It will come anyway. Why should you fear that which is inevitable? If it must come, it must meet me like a man. Yeah?
How tough are you? When you said the military regime of Samuel Doe didn't scare you, you referred to the former president of the Republic of Liberia, Mother Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, as a fake woman president. And you are referring to President Weah and his administration as children. You went further to say on the 17th, you will declare yourself coronavirus free, and you dare anybody, because you will take to the streets of Monserrado and you dare anybody to come after you. What are you depending on, Prof?
I will declare myself coronavirus free because I don't have coronavirus anyway. But just to give them the benefit of the doubt and give the surrogates the benefit of the doubt, to give the bootlickers the benefit of the doubt, I will extend the period. It will be after 14 days, on the Saturday, I guess, on the 25th. I'm going to march on Maria Town for my residence. I'm not going to take a car. I'm not going to drive. I march on to go inspect my office and see the way it looks and give my press conference from there. You know? Why would you think that I'm alone? Why would you think that as the leader of the grassroots, I'm unconnected? Why would you think that I cannot give you a surprise at any time when I know that we are at war, declared or undeclared?
Now, Prof, you said, and quote, I don't want your government job where you will give me plenty of money and compare me to comply with your corrupt ways and practices. Now, my question to you, would you offer the position that you refused?
Sorry?
Would you offer a position that you refused to occupy?
I wouldn't want to go into that. What is clear to them, and listen to me. What is clear to them and to me is that I informed them that I was not prepared to be part of the cheering squad.
Now, you said that you were supposed to be picked up and taken to a facility. You receive a text message that you were supposed to be picked up and taken to a facility for treatment, and you never got a call.
And I received telephone calls. Yes, I received telephone calls as well.
Now,
and I challenged them to come.
And a relative of yours who claims to be the most powerful man in the country, don't you think he has something to do with this? Now, Tanner McGill claims to be your relative, and he claims to be the most powerful man in the country. Don't you think it was because of the intervention that nobody came to have you picked up?
McGill is a relative of mine. That is true. Whether he's in a powerful position or not, as far as I'm concerned, I do not fight individuals, I fight systems.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm doing my best to interview this guy. Okay, we're going to open up the telephone line now. The number to call is 248-979-1718. Any question for the prof? He's here stand to answer your questions. So go ahead and begin calling now. Okay. Again, the telephone number is 248-979-1718. We have the Professor ALARIC TOKPA in our studio tonight. We want to go back to Information Highway where Mrs. Letty Brooks Roberts can bring us up to speed as to what is going on the Information Highway via the comments that she's receiving now. Mrs. Roberts?
Yes, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Go ahead.
Awesome. So we have A.B. Bobley. He says, I'm watching live from Bloomington, and comments such as Jacob Daniels. He said, Prophet Key, where are you? Oh, God. Sarah Putuwei, shame on you, Satan. No one will destroy God's children because he anointed them to go to hell. He anointed them, so go to hell, rather. Darlington S. Collins, ALARIC, you have my honor, Professor. Bottom Cooler, he says, let's stop this tough talk and militant talk and just help.
Two more comments, please. Two more comments.
And tell our lapses in the government and what we need to improve the system. Josephus Shai Thomas replying to Josephus, you are definitely defending this criminal George out of ignorance because you are a praise singer. He's replying to someone.
Okay.
Then we have Darcy Camus says, I agree with the professor. Me too. I thought George Weah was bringing change. To my surprise, he brought disgrace to the country and its people.
Thank you. Okay. This is a 215 number. The last 4 digits of the number is 6060. Tell us your name.
Thank you, Ashford. This is Darlington Collins. And let me send out heartfelt revolutionary salutation to struggle progressive icon Professor ALARIC TOKPA. You know, in the Liberian parlance, they say you cannot make a woman who are born plenty children with the size of what you carry in the size of the pants, basically. A man like ALARIC TOKPA who has been to the gallows, who have never feared death, as far back as 1982, and beaten into cowardice in his own country. Look, let us say here very clearly that the Republic of Liberia needs to honor men who remain dedicated to progressive cause. And Professor ALARIC TOKPA is an ordinary classroom teacher and a farmer. Why would this government continue to play politics with everything? And then you don't want ALARIC to sound the way he's sounding? Yes, ALARIC controls one of the biggest reservoirs in our country.
Thank you.
That is the student movement.
Thank you.
When Professor ALARIC TOKPA sound the way he sounds, it's because the brothers who have read historical typology, who have understood what has happened to this society, we're not staying aside and allow you to vilify ALARIC while we are reading.
Thank you, Mr. Collins.
You can take your job.
Thank you.
You're not interested. What we are saying, that this government must continue to ensure to live to the tenets of democracy.
Thank you.
So whatever they are dancing to, we are not going to play into their gallery.
Thank you so much.
ALARIC TOKPA, you have my honor, and I salute you as of your age. You are still putting your life against hostile social forces. You know, it's very laudable.
Thank you,
ALARIC
Mr.
TOKPA,
Collins.
Thank you
so
so much.
much. All right. We have Dr. Batu Kola on the line from Georgia. Hello, welcome to the show. Doc.
Hello, Mr. Garley. Thanks for having me. And Professor TOKPA, I've heard a lot about you, and just by way of introduction, the son of Bishop Arthur Kula. So I've been in Liberia during the days when the student movement was powerful, when they fought
You put the alarm.
Go ahead, Doc.
When the student movement fought against the military dictatorship. And since then, our country has gone through a series of bad governance with Charles Taylor, and of course, that was a difficult time in our history. And then,
Hold on, Doc. There's a 267 number. The last 4 digits 5983. Please mute your phone. I don't want to cut you off. Please mute your phone. Somebody is speaking. Thank you. Go ahead, Doc.
Yeah, and we've gone through various fluxes as far as our politics is concerned. And so Liberia is, for good or bad, watched very keenly on the world stage. And so when the professor and others come to speak to us on issues in the country, you're not only to a local audience, speaking to an international audience as well. So a lot of the parables and short answers and whatnot, not everybody understands the context and why you're coming from it in this militant stance. So I would suggest kindly that, you know, when you do these interviews, explore some of the issues. Let our people know what are the losses that Liberia continues to suffer from one generation to another, from one political party that governs the country to another, and what we need to do to fix it. You know, and specifically, what is it that George Weah and his group are targeting you for? Why did they stop you from traveling? Well, what are some of the nuances? What are they afraid of? And how you and others will use our system, our legal system, our politics, and our connections in the international world to make things better. But when we hear stuff about militancy and we'll fight and we'll do this and we'll do that, people get scared because of where we've been. And a lot of people in the international world and even local people are fatigued.
Thank you, Dad.
In Liberia. So
thank you.
Please speak to those issues and see how to improve our system and what we need to do about this particular government at the power and what are the lapses. That's what I would suggest.
Okay. Thank you, Dad. We have 5983. Tell us your name.
Loli, my name is Burr. Thank you very much.
Hey, Loli, welcome to the show.
Professor TOKPA, thank you. You know, thank you very much, sir. You have spoken, and we understood what you just said. This is some of the things sometimes people who advocating for the Republic of Liberia and the people of Liberia are yearning to see, and we kept talking about it. Then the other aisle would be saying, you're against the government. But my question here is this, Professor TOKPA. What is your second move if the government stop you not to walk through the aisle or through the streets, the principal streets of Monrovia to go to your office? What happens if they stop you? What is your second move? Thank you very much.
Thank you. And with that, I want to go back to the professor to give us a few responses from the callers. Prof?
Thank you very much for your question. To the last question, the context will dictate my action. To the second to the last question from Atlanta, Georgia, I think Dr. Kula, it is not my responsibility to do the job of the people who have been well paid to think and act on behalf of the Liberian people. If for any reason you've been paid to do a job and you know you have not the technical ability or the intellectual capacity, find consultants. That's your business. That's not my business. And you compel me to determine the way in which Liberia should move forward when Liberia has given power to a political machine headed by Mr. George Weah, the populist. You really think I take that kind of question seriously? But I thank you very much for your comments as well.
Now, Prof, WHO, your advice to WHO that every statistic coming from Liberia in the name of the pandemic should be treated with caution. Please explain to us what you meant when you said that.
I lectured research methodology for a long time. I know that statistics can be manipulated. That is why I refuse to be presented as a raw data in a political statistic that they manufacture and present to WHO. To caution WHO that they should treat this statistic with caution because it has some false elements that could distort the results.
Prof, you also said, quote, the government of Liberia has thrown you in a lake of fire, and you will continue to swim in order to avoid getting wet. Please bring us up to speed, make us to understand what you meant.
Did anybody ever hear me speak in the last few months about the behavior of this? I was clear, theoretically, that the government would come on and isn't wet. I was clear that the government was ineffective. I said we issue one statement from the National Democratic Coalition that a state of emergency was unnecessary. Now it is clear to the whole world, to the Liberian diaspora and Liberians at home, that a state of emergency was necessary. I said that a health emergency, which is powerful enough to handle the kind of situation, was necessary in this period. When you have a non-traditional security concern, such as the COVID-19, you don't use military and barriers regulations, brutalizing your population, intimidating your population. Of course, all that is intended to be able to restrict opposition politicians from campaigning while they campaign. Bolmamolu can cross the borders to Granjida and other countries. The CDC people can march in the street, but ALARIC TOKPA is not supposed to cross the border to another country because he doesn't have a COVID-19 pass. Is that fair? To you, the apologists who are listening, is that fair? Is it fair to stop a man from seeing his family in the United States only because you fear that you're going to brutalize you in an election? I am not a medical doctor. I am not a health worker. But I have the intellectual ability to read about what the COVID-19 does to people, and I've seen what it does to people. I ask, do I look like somebody who has been affected by the coronavirus? Do I look like one? When my appetite is insatiable, yes, I said it's insatiable for change. Do I look like a man who has COVID-19? And you think I'm crazy not to understand that the health system in this country is ineffective and that it is only part of the drama to enrich Mr. Weah and his cronies. ALARIC TOKPA would never subordinate himself to that kind of a disrespect. This is unacceptable. They are disrespecting Liberian people. And the world needs to know this. That is the reason why I picked this case up big time. Because the Liberian people are being very disrespected. Go to Goodway Clinic in Fiamma, for example, where it is said that at least the practice is...
Hold on 1 minute, Prof. Mrs. Roberts, I can see all of what is going on the platform. And we've told our folks here, this platform is not where you come to use profanity. And if you are in the habit of doing so, we have no alternative but to block you. And Mrs. Roberts, I'm not going to say this twice. Please do what you have to do to solve the issue, because I can be in two places at the same time. Thank you. Go ahead, Prof.
Well, basically, my concern is that the poor people of Liberia, the disadvantaged, the marginalized, the underserved, the hard to reach, are being disrespected constantly, and they are facing abuse, and no attention is being paid to their plight. I was saying that, for example, since Goodway Clinic is known in the Sinco area to be a good clinic, go to Goodway Clinic, you see, you know, there are many patients that go up there. There are many patients that go up there. There's a lot of complaint, for example, about JFK. Why is it that efforts have not been made to all human beings are important and have equal rights under the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia? The same needs, the same health needs that people have in Monrovia, other countries have the same health needs. But no effort has been made to even sit down and pay particular attention to creating a uniform system that sets our people across the board. Even JFK has limited capacity, but it's very expensive. Every day people are complaining. Why this is happening? Why they're charging people so much money? They're not providing good services. Redemption Hospital is the same way. It was possible for the fight against the coronavirus to be able to mobilize sufficient resources to improve the health system in this country. I assure you that after the fight against the pandemic, the health system will either be the same at best or worse.
Okay, hold on thought. Prof, want to go back and take one more call, and then we'll come back to you where you can give us your parting comment, and we'll all be set to see you declare yourself coronavirus free on the 17th, I believe. We have a 612 number. The last four digits of your number is 9634. Tell us your name.
Oh, my name is Benjamin, and I'm calling from Minnesota. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the show. Go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you. Right. I would first like to say a big thank you to the Prof for all he has done for Liberia. But I have few things that I want to also take in. And I want to use myself as an example. I have been tested negative today. I got my results being corona free. So when the Prof says that, oh, do I look like a person who we know this government is a very bad government. These are not people you want to take risks with. These guys are horrible. But equally so, you cannot sit home and then come out with an arbitrary date and say this date is going to make me corona free. Even if you isolate yourself for 25 days, the only thing that can prove that you do not have the corona unless you are tested. Why it is true that I'm free today, I still have fever, I cannot go to work because I work with sick people. So all I'm saying is that I want you to do the right thing. These guys are bad. If they want you to go and retake that test, I will only advise that you go and retake the test. But the government we have is such a bad government.
Thank you.
I will not risk any. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I can't turn the retired Colonel down. Colonel Raymond Gray is definitely our last caller. Colonel Gray, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Garley. Prof, this is your student, of course, Colonel. Okay, and I hope to see you someday again in Minnesota. I know this is no strange phenomenon to you. We've seen worse than this. The real government is a crawling dictatorship, authoritarian. So it's still in its infancy. It has not germinated, not even closer to being to germinate into a full-blown authoritarian. So a baby can be spanked. So I have no doubt that you can stand the terror of the day. We've seen worse collectively. My question to you is that the CPP is considered as an extension of Madam Shirley. What's your opinion?
Thank you. Okay, Prof, you can now answer the question, and then you can give us your parting comment. We call this a night. I want to say a big thank you to you for taking enough time of your busy schedule just to be with us tonight. Yeah, the Bridge Radio Africa. This is your home. You're always welcome to come home. Go ahead, Prof.
Colonel Gray, greetings. Yes, indeed, Remy was my former student at the University of Liberia. I said, if I understood the question well, that the CDC is an extension of the first post-war administration of the woman president. But I was making regime analysis that in varying degrees, these are government administrations that have the same tendencies. They get very corrupt.
Relieve everyday aches.
They disrespect the population. They don't concentrate on the basic needs of the people. They do not operate on plans. They operate on expediency. And that is how everything crash lands. I think the earlier speaker before Colonel Gray, my former student, was concerned that as you do a coronavirus test, if you were to go to a facility and the lab will lose your result, if you were go to do the test a second time, and the lab says you are both negative and positive, will you continue to trust such a lab? If you will, I won't. Now, anytime that I get sick in this country in very severe abnormal way, I wouldn't hesitate to submit myself to a coronavirus test. But it is not every sickness that is coronavirus related. Is it true that the coronavirus shows after a certain period in a man? Since the 6th of July, what is today's date? Since the 8th of July, when I did the second today's date, if I did have the coronavirus, I can assure you that the virus was in me long before I went for my test. If I take you on a tour of imagination, I'll therefore be living with the virus for probably more than 28 days. Why is it that I do not feel any abnormality? I am not a mechanical man. So, I want to close by thanking you, Ashford, for the invitation and for giving me this opportunity. I do not crave to go behind the microphone. I'm here only because my government has provoked me, my government has stigmatized me, my government has disrespected me, my government is disrespecting the people of Liberia, the government is abusing the people of this country. It has to be made to understand that it is composed of individuals who have been asked to manage the affairs of society. Because there's no way that everybody can do the job of managing their own affairs. So this group of people who have been constituted, cannot pretend that for letting them to manage the affairs of society, all the resources of the society belong to them. These boys are millionaires. These boys have wealth. But why do they, on top of that, continue to disrespect the Liberian people? It is unfair. And for me, I think I would prefer to embrace my grave in kingly grace than to see the abuse of this Liberian community without making some intervention. It is true that the young people are basing themselves on instant gratification, but illiteracy is a political fight. Ignorance is manufactured for a reason. The society is deprived for political reasons. During election times, you see humanitarian politicians moving all across the place. As far as I'm concerned, change is the permanent reality in life. Today, we are crying for change. Tomorrow, we'll have the change we deserve. That is why we work for it, and the struggle continues.
Thank you, Prof. This voice of Professor ALARIC TOKPA making his presence known tonight on Race Radio Africa. Want to go back to Mrs. Lexi Brooks Roberts to give us her parting comment tonight before we can call this a night. And as always, again, we want to say a big thank you to our many followers and viewers. Please continue to be civil, and in the event where you use profanity, we have no alternative but to just block you and ban you permanently from this platform. We're not yet there. There are other platforms that condone that nonsense, but we don't do that yet on this platform. Thank you, Mrs. Roberts.
Thank you, Professor TOKPA, for your eloquence and stating your case here. As we started this show tonight, we paid homage to a hero, a civil rights hero here in America. What America has done, and most civilized countries, is respect the people that came before them, that bear the baton, that took the licks. But what I see here in our country is that we continue to disrespect the people that are supposed to guide this country for historical reasons, and this is a prime example. But Professor TOKPA, the test, I hear people saying you should go and take the test, but that is your call to make. All we're saying is continue to stand up for principle, and that's that will be your legacy to our people, because indeed we need legacies. Thank you. Thank you to our viewing audience. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for all of those who brought to our attention the people that are disrespecting this platform. We ask you to be civil to one another and to our host and of course our guests. Cecilia Hippie has been blocked.
Yes,
thank you.
No, not only did you block her, but she's banned permanently from this platform. We warned her the last time she didn't listen. And for a woman of her age, she's supposed to behave. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garley.
And folks, I'm afraid that's all the time I have to be with you. Tomorrow, we're going to have Dr. Joman. Dr. Joman claimed that he has not gotten paid for 11 months. After he worked for this government, he will be in our studio tomorrow night, Tuesday. Oh, man. And then on Wednesday, the Shippers Association, Mr. Philip Woods will be back by popular demand in our studio as well. And of course, on Thursday, we'll have Quincy T, and we'll have the Foreign Ward in our studio as well. Folks, until then, please allow me to borrow the wordings of the wise man. Tough times don't last, tough people do. The height of a man is never known until he rises, and there's no second chance to make that first impression. Don't see okra and swallow bone, because you can't hide your nakedness from bathing bucket. When God bless you, don't see that medicine. When white men know your friend black man. This has been yours truly, the medicine of the microphone, the golden voice of Liberia, Ashford, the original giant that now you know me. Wure no muzu oni won je mato bo to dry ajo ade wa po boro blae boro koyo boro sei won gradion no me to dry won gradion. I'm Ashford Garley. Have a good night.
Bento Pangama, Chirac Makayama, Dr. Ejide,
Thank you very much, man. Very bad microphone, the whole audience.
Jean-David Kiambote, Jean-Jacques Bayonne, Judy Bilomba, Touna, Guillaume Kani, il est London. Simplice Jazz.